Welcome to MarkGuy, where we explore self-improvement, motivation, habits, mindset. In today's episode, we're discussing it's time to man up and get rid of these habits when dealing with women. You know what no one tells you? The habits that are killing your relationships aren't the obvious ones. It's not about forgetting anniversaries or leaving the toilet seat up. The real relationship killers are the invisible patterns you've been programmed to repeat since you were 16. Watching romantic comedies, and thinking that's how attraction works. You're still operating on software from 2005 while she's running the latest update. Picture this scene. It's 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. You're lying in bed, phone screen illuminating your face in that ghostly blue glow. Your thumb is hovering over her Instagram story for the third time tonight. She posted a photo at some rooftop bar downtown. Cocktail in hand? That specific smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. You know she saw your message from this afternoon. The read receipt confirmed it 6 hours ago. But here you are, analyzing pixels like they're ancient hieroglyphics, trying to decode why she's posting stories, but can't type 3 words back to you. The air conditioner hums. The neighbor's dog barks. And you're about to do it again. Double text her with some variation of, "Hey, you okay?" Because somewhere along the line, you learned that persistence equals caring, that checking in equals love, that availability equals value. Wrong, dead wrong. Let me paint you the psychological landscape of what's actually happening here. Your brain is caught in what neuroscientists call an intermittent reinforcement schedule, the same mechanism that keeps gamblers pulling slot machine levers at 3 a.m. in Vegas. Sometimes she responds quickly, flooding your dopamine receptors with that sweet validation hit. Sometimes she takes days, leaving you in withdrawal. This isn't love, it's operant conditioning. You've become Pavlov's dog, except instead of salivating at a bell, you're refreshing Instagram at the sound of a notification that might be her. The cognitive dissonance is remarkable. Your logical brain knows this dynamic is unhealthy, but your emotional brain is screaming for another hit of attention. So you rationalize. Maybe she's busy. Perhaps she didn't see it. I should be more understanding. But here's where it gets darker. You're not being understanding, you're being trained. Phase 1 starts innocently enough. You meet someone and the energy feels different. She laughs at your jokes, maintains eye contact a beat longer than necessary, and suddenly your phone becomes command central for a military operation called "Don't Mess This Up." You respond to her texts immediately, within minutes, sometimes seconds. Why? Because you've internalized this toxic belief that response time equals interest level. You think being constantly available makes you reliable, trustworthy, the good guy? But what you're actually communicating is that you have nothing more important going on. No mission, no purpose, just waiting. Phase 2 is where the habituation sets in. She starts taking longer to respond. Not because she's playing games, though sometimes she is, but because the human brain naturally devalues what's always available. It's called the scarcity principle, and it's been documented in psychological studies since the 1970s. When something is always accessible, our brains literally assign it less value. You've become emotional fast food, convenient, always open, but nobody's first choice for a memorable experience. So what do? You double down. You send follow-up messages. You heart every story. You become her personal notification system, reminding her every few hours that you exist. And with each unanswered message, each ignored story reaction, you're not just losing her interest, you're losing yourself. Phase 3 is the death spiral. This is where desperation meets delusion. You start crafting messages with the precision of a UN peace negotiator. "Hey, hope you're having a great day." Becomes a Shakespearean sonnet you've revised 14 times. You analyze her social media like it's the Zapruder film. She posted a sunset photo. Is that a metaphor for endings? She liked your friend's picture, but not yours. What does it mean? You've become a detective in your own romantic crime scene, except you're both the investigator and the victim. The habit has consumed you. You're no longer pursuing a woman, you're pursuing a feeling. The feeling of being chosen, validated, worthy. But here's what's really happening in her mind. And this is where most men completely miss the mark. When you're always available, always responding, always checking in, you're not displaying love. You're displaying dependency. And dependency, at a primal level, triggers repulsion, not attraction. Think about it from an evolutionary psychology perspective. For hundreds of thousands of years, women's survival depended on choosing partners who could handle threats, secure resources, and maintain composure under pressure. Does the guy who texts "you there" at 2 a.m. because she didn't respond to his good morning message seem like he can protect anything? Does the man who needs constant validation seem like he can weather a real storm? No, he seems like another problem to manage. The second habit that's destroying your connections is even more insidious. Emotional dumping disguised as vulnerability. Somewhere in the last decade, men got sold this idea that being vulnerable means treating every woman you're interested in like an unpaid therapist. You match on a dating app, and by the third conversation, you're unloading about your anxiety, your ex who hurt you, your complicated relationship with your father. You think you're being deep, authentic, real? But what you're actually doing is using her as an emotional garbage disposal before you've even earned the right to her emotional labor. Here's where it hurts. Genuine vulnerability isn't about vomiting your trauma onto someone else's lap. It's about having the strength to process your emotions independently and then choosing to share from a place of power, not desperation. When you trauma dump on date 2, you're not being brave. You're being selfish. You're demanding she carry weight she never signed up for. You're making her your emotional support system before she's even decided if she likes your laugh. The third habit? The constant need for reassurance disguised as communication. What are you thinking? Is everything okay? Did I do something wrong? These aren't questions. They're anxiety manifested as words. Every time you ask for reassurance, you're essentially saying, I don't trust my own perception of reality, so I need you to constantly validate that we're okay. Do you understand how exhausting that becomes? It's like being in a relationship with a smoke detector that goes off every time someone makes toast. After a while, she doesn't want to make toast anymore. She doesn't even want to be in the kitchen. This reassurance-seeking behavior stems from what psychologists call an anxious attachment style, developed usually in early childhood. But here's the cold truth nobody wants to say. Your attachment issues are not her problem to solve. When you make them her problem, you're not being a partner, you're being a project. And most women have enough projects already. The fourth toxic habit is perhaps the most devastating. The complete abandonment of your own life the moment she shows interest. Your gym routine? Canceled if she wants to hang out. Your Thursday poker game with the boys? Ancient history. That side business you were building? On permanent pause. You think you're showing dedication? Proving she's your priority? But what you're actually doing is demonstrating that your entire identity is negotiable, that you'll reshape yourself into whatever you think she wants. And here's the paradox that breaks most men's brains. The version of you she was attracted to is the one who had a life. The moment you abandon that life for her, you cease to be that person. It's like buying a painting because you love the colors, then immediately painting over it with beige because you think that's what the artist would want. You've destroyed the very thing that created the attraction in the first place. Let me tell you about the mirror maze principle. When you abandon your life for someone else, you become a mirror that only reflects them back to themselves. At first, it might seem flattering. Who doesn't like seeing their best angles? But eventually, it becomes unsettling. Humans need contrast to maintain interest. We need mystery, challenge, the unknown. When you become a perfect reflection of her desires, you offer none of that. You become predictable, safe, boring. And boredom in romantic dynamics is death. The fifth habit is the subtle but constant devaluing of your own needs and boundaries. She suggests something you're uncomfortable with, and instead of saying no, you say, whatever makes you happy. She crosses a boundary, and instead of addressing it, you rationalize it away. She didn't mean it. I'm probably being too sensitive. It's not a big deal. But every time you swallow your truth to keep the peace, you're not preserving the relationship. You're poisoning it. Because resentment is like carbon monoxide, invisible, odorless, but eventually lethal. Here's what happens neurologically when you consistently suppress your needs. Your amygdala, the brain's alarm system, stays activated. You're in a constant state of low-grade stress, producing cortisol like a factory. This affects everything: your sleep, your decision-making, your emotional regulation. You become irritable, anxious, disconnected. She notices the change, but can't pinpoint the cause. You can't either, because you've gaslit yourself into believing everything is fine. The relationship becomes a performance where you're both actor and audience, applauding a show neither of you wants to watch. But here's where it gets even darker. When you don't maintain boundaries, you're not just disrespecting yourself, you're disrespecting her. You're essentially saying she's so fragile, so unreasonable, that she couldn't handle your authentic truth. You're treating her like a child who needs to be protected from reality. Is that love? Or is that condescension wrapped in nice guy packaging? The sixth habit that needs to die, the scorekeeper mentality. You're keeping a mental spreadsheet of every nice thing you do, every gesture, every sacrifice, expecting them to add up to some romantic payout. I drove her to the airport, listened to her complain about work for 2 hours, bought her favorite coffee. Why isn't she more affectionate? You've turned love into a transaction, except you never told her she was participating in this economy. You're the casino, the player, and the house, rigging a game only you know you're playing. This transactional mindset reveals something profound about how you view relationships. You see them as vending machines. Insert kindness, receive affection. Insert attention, receive sex. Insert time, receive love. But humans aren't machines, and emotions aren't currency. When she senses this scorekeeping, and trust me, she always senses it, she feels like a product being purchased, not a person being loved. The very foundation of the connection becomes contaminated with this unspoken contract she never signed. And now we reach the climax, the moment of reckoning that every man faces but few want to acknowledge. It's 3 a.m. now. Different night, same bed, same phone. But this time, she's not posting stories. She's posting pictures with someone else. That specific smile that doesn't reach her eyes, it's reaching them now. And you're scrolling through months of conversations, trying to pinpoint where it went wrong. Was it that Tuesday when you triple texted? That Friday when you canceled plans with your friends to be available just in case? That Sunday when you said whatever you want for the 15th time instead of having an opinion? The answer is all of it and none of it, because the relationship didn't die from a single wound. It died from 1,000 tiny surrenders. Every time you chose anxiety over authenticity. Every time you picked availability over abundance. Every time you selected safety over strength. You didn't lose her to another man. You lost her to another version of yourself. The one you buried under layers of people-pleasing and approval-seeking. Your chest feels tight. The room spins slightly. You want to text her, explain, apologize, promise to change. But your thumb hovers over the keyboard, paralyzed. Because deep down, in that place where truth lives, you know that the habits you need to change aren't for her. They're for you. They've always been for you. This is where most men break, but it's also where some men build. The revelation comes not as lightning, but as dawn. Slow, inevitable, illuminating. These habits you've been carrying aren't expressions of love. They're expressions of fear, fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, fear of being alone with yourself. You've been running from that fear straight into relationships, using women as hiding places from your own shadows. But shadows follow you everywhere, especially into the places you think are safe. The work isn't about learning new tricks to attract women. It's about unlearning the lie that your worth comes from their validation. It's about understanding that being chosen by someone else means nothing if you haven't first chosen yourself. Every habit we've discussed, the constant availability, the emotional dumping, the reassurance seeking, the life abandonment, the boundary dissolution, the score keeping, they all stem from the same root. You don't believe you're enough. So you try to become more by doing more, giving more, being more available, more understanding, more accommodating. But multiplication of 0 is still 0. Until you address the fundamental belief that you're insufficient, every relationship will be an attempt to fill a void that only you can fill. Here's what manning up actually looks like in practice. It's responding to messages when it makes sense for your schedule, not hers. It's having opinions and preferences and deal breakers that aren't negotiable. It's maintaining your gym routine, your friendships, your goals, regardless of who enters or exits your life. It's processing your emotions with a therapist, a journal, or a punching bag, not with someone you met 2 weeks ago. It's saying no when you mean no, and yes when you mean yes, without apology or explanation. It's understanding that love isn't desperation dressed in devotion. It's choice, made from abundance, not need. The paradox that breaks most men: the moment you stop needing her validation is the moment you become worthy of it. The second you stop chasing is when you become worth pursuing. The instant you choose yourself is when you become choosable. But this isn't about playing games or pretending to be aloof. It's about genuine transformation. It's about becoming so engaged with your own life, your own mission, your own growth, that you don't have time to analyze Instagram stories at midnight. You're too busy building something meaningful to notice how long she took to text back. You're too focused on your purpose to abandon it for anyone who shows interest. This is the difference between boys and men. Boys need constant reassurance that they're loved. Men know their worth, regardless of who recognizes it. Boys shapeshift to match what they think others want. Men stand firm in who they are and let others choose to match their energy or move along. Boys keep score. Men give freely or not at all. Boys fear solitude. Men require it. The transformation isn't comfortable. Growth never is. You'll sit with the discomfort of not texting back immediately. You'll feel the anxiety of maintaining boundaries. You'll experience the fear of being alone, rather than accepting crumbs of affection. But on the other side of that discomfort is something most men never experience: genuine self-respect. And self-respect is the foundation upon which all healthy relationships are built. When you respect yourself, you stop accepting disrespect from others. When you value your time, you stop giving it to people who waste it. When you know your worth, you stop negotiating it down for anyone's approval. This isn't arrogance, it's alignment. You're simply refusing to betray yourself for the possibility of someone else's love. The woman who's meant for you won't need you to shrink. She won't require your constant availability to feel secure. She won't demand you abandon your life to prove your commitment. She'll be attracted to your independence, not threatened by it. She'll respect your boundaries, not test them. She'll add to your life, not become it. But you'll never meet her while you're busy performing for someone who requires you to be less than you are. So here's your homework, and it's non-negotiable if you actually want change. Delete her number. Not archive it, not hide it. Delete it. Unfollow the social media accounts that you check obsessively. Not mute, unfollow. Cancel the plans you made out of fear of being alone, and schedule something for yourself instead. Call the friends you've neglected. Hit the gym you've been avoiding. Open the business plan you shelved. Start the therapy you've been postponing. Become so busy building a life you love that you don't have time to chase people who don't choose you. This isn't about becoming cold or distant. It's about becoming complete. When you're complete within yourself, you don't enter relationships to fill voids. You enter them to share abundance. You don't seek partners to heal you. You seek partners to grow with. You don't need someone else's love to feel worthy. You share your worth with someone who recognizes it. The brutal truth: most of you won't do this work. You'll listen to this, nod along, maybe even share it with a friend. But tonight, when the loneliness hits, you'll open Instagram. You'll send that text. You'll abandon yourself again for the possibility of someone else's attention. And that's okay. Rock bottom has a basement. And sometimes you need to see the basement before you're ready to climb. But for those few who are ready, who are tired of the same patterns producing the same pain, who understand that manning up isn't about dominating others, but about mastering yourself. Your journey starts now. Not tomorrow, not Monday, not after one more text, now. Because here's the final truth. The one that changes everything once you truly understand it. The relationship you have with yourself sets the standard for every other relationship in your life. When you abandon yourself, you teach others it's acceptable to abandon you too.